Snow fell lightly over the dark mountains of New Hampshire. Thick forests pressed close to the narrow roads, and silence stretched between the distant houses. It was February, and the night air was brittle, sharp, and unforgiving. On those lonely stretches of Route 112, the world felt cut off from civilization, isolated, mysterious, and dangerous. The White Mountains carried their own kind of mythology: untouched wilderness, sudden snowstorms, and hidden valleys where time seemed to stand still. To the locals, it was beautiful but merciless. Outsiders who underestimated its silence often found themselves swallowed whole. Life in the small towns scattered along the border of Vermont and New Hampshire carried a sense of routine. Families kept to themselves. Winters were long. Neighbors waved without asking questions, and the roads became lifelines. Against this backdrop of rural normalcy, the disappearance of a young nursing student would ignite one of the most enduring mysteries in American true crime. In early February 2004, a subtle shift had already taken place. Maura Murray, a 21-year-old college student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, was showing signs that something in her life was unraveling. Few noticed at first. It was just whispers of unease, moments that seemed ordinary until they were revisited in hindsight. On the surface, Maura's life was promising. Bright, athletic, deeply loved by her family and admired by friends, she was the kind of young woman people expected would build a successful future. Yet beneath that image was a story layered with pressure, heartbreak, and secrets that would eventually fuel years of speculation. Maura was the fourth child of a close-knit Massachusetts family. Her father, Fred, was deeply protective, involved, and supportive. Her siblings looked up to her, and she was known for her quiet determination. She had been an accomplished runner, disciplined in her studies, and drawn toward nursing, a field that combined her intellect with compassion. But college life had not been easy. She had struggled academically in moments, navigated a complicated relationship with her boyfriend, and faced disciplinary trouble after a credit card incident months earlier. Friends would later describe her as stressed, sometimes distracted, yet still outwardly functioning. To most, she looked like any other young student juggling too much at once. The last known days of Maura's life carried a haunting sequence. On February 5th, she received a phone call at her job as a campus security desk worker. Whatever was said on the other end left her shaken. A supervisor later recalled finding Maura frozen in tears, unable to speak. She was escorted back to her dorm, visibly distraught, but the source of her distress was never revealed. Her father, Fred, visited that same weekend. They went car shopping together. Maura's old Saturn sedan was unreliable, prone to breakdowns. They discussed replacing it, but that plan was left unfinished. On Sunday night, February 8th, she borrowed her father's car, crashed it into a guardrail, and caused several $1,000s in damage. Fred was frustrated but reassured her it wasn't the end of the world. Yet, something shadowed her steps. On the morning of Monday, February 9th, 2004, just after classes, Maura sent emails to her professors claiming there had been a death in her family. She would need time away. No family member had died. She then packed belongings into boxes, removed art from her dorm walls, and left a note for her boyfriend. By evening, she was on the road, driving north into the frozen mountains. At approximately 7:27 p.m., her black Saturn slid off the road in Haverhill, New Hampshire, crashing into a snowbank on Route 112. The car was facing the wrong direction, nose into the snow. A local school bus driver returning home noticed the accident. He stopped, rolled down his window, and offered help. The driver, Butch Atwood, later told investigators Maura declined. She insisted she had already called roadside assistance, though phone records show no such call had been made. He drove on, but suspicious enough he phoned police when he got home. In that rural stretch, neighbors kept eyes on one another. And then she was gone. By the time police arrived minutes later, the car was abandoned. Its windshield cracked, airbags deployed. Inside, they found an empty beer box, a soda bottle with traces of alcohol, and maps. The driver's seat was pushed back farther than expected for someone of Maura's height, but there was no sign of her in the snow, no footprints leading into the woods, no trail at all. Word spread quickly through the small town. A young woman had vanished within minutes of a car accident, as if the night had swallowed her whole. Neighbors who lived along the road told police they had seen a woman fitting Maura's description standing by the car moments earlier. By the time headlights returned, she was gone. Speculation ignited almost immediately. Had she wandered into the woods, dazed from the crash and succumbed to the cold? Had someone picked her up? Or had she staged the accident as part of a carefully orchestrated escape? Police organized searches that night and into the following days. Dogs were brought in, but their trails went cold within a short distance from the car. Snow had fallen lightly, and in that darkness, evidence vanished fast. Helicopters swept overhead. Thermal imaging scans of the forests returned nothing. For Fred Murray, it was unthinkable. He arrived in New Hampshire the very next day, furious with what he saw as a sluggish response from police. He pleaded for urgency, convinced his daughter had been abducted. His determination would become a defining part of the case, an anchor as theories swirled wildly around what had happened. Witness accounts began to clash. Some swore they had seen someone standing outside the car. Others recalled a single figure walking quickly along the road. But none could confirm where she had gone. Every version contained gaps, blurry moments that made truth elusive. Investigators reconstructed the timeline, but cracks widened. Why had she lied to professors about a family death? Why had she left campus abruptly, taking alcohol and maps but telling no one? Theories blossomed like storm clouds. Some believed she had run away from personal troubles. Others pointed to darker possibilities, an unknown assailant, or someone she trusted who lured her away. Attention soon turned to Maura's relationships. She had a long-distance boyfriend, Bill Rausch, who was working in Oklahoma. Their relationship was strained by distance, jealousy, and disagreements. Phone records show she spoke with him that day. To some, their conversation suggested normal affection. To others, they hinted at deeper fractures. Questions multiplied. Did Maura intend to start over, leaving behind academic stress, relationship turmoil, and family pressures? Or was she heading to a cabin retreat she knew of in New Hampshire? Friends recalled she often loved the White Mountains, a place of both refuge and mystery. As the search widened, police stumbled into contradictions. They announced publicly that Maura might have been suicidal or seeking to vanish. Fred rejected this furiously. He insisted she was happy, focused on nursing, and determined to resolve her troubles. Yet evidence suggested she had been planning something in secret. The media storm hit quickly. National outlets picked up the story. A young woman, beautiful, intelligent, and missing in the wilderness, captivated audiences. Headlines dramatized her final drive. Online forums exploded with theories. Amateur detectives pieced together maps, phone logs, and witness reports. The community, once quiet, grew uneasy. Parents kept closer watch on their children. Residents locked doors they had never locked before. Fear seeped into the mountains. A chilling question lingered in every conversation. If a woman could vanish from a crash site within minutes, what else was lurking in their woods? Theories spiraled out of control. Some suggested she had been picked up by a stranger. Others claimed she knew exactly where she was going, that she had slipped into another life with help. More sinister versions spoke of serial killers, police cover-ups, or human trafficking. Investigators faced mounting criticism. Search efforts were questioned, evidence handling scrutinized. Why hadn't the area been locked down immediately? Why were dogs not brought in faster? Every misstep became fuel for mistrust. Weeks stretched into months. Every lead collapsed. Rumors of sightings trickled in, from local motels to distant states. Each was investigated, each dissolved into nothing. For the Murray family, it was torment. Hope ignited and extinguished over and over again. A year later, Fred continued to walk those roads himself, handing out flyers, knocking on doors, searching ditches and abandoned cabins. He was tireless, convinced the answer lay just out of reach. For him, there could be no rest without resolution. But new evidence remained scarce. Without a body, without a confirmed crime scene, the investigation was forced into limbo. Every new theory became both a possibility and a distraction. Some suggested she had died in the woods that very night. Others believed she had been targeted. In later years, parallels were drawn to other unsolved disappearances in the region, each adding weight to theories of a predator at large. Even as investigators probed suspects and questioned locals, nothing concrete tied anyone to her vanishing. Alibis were checked, inconsistencies noted, but no charges ever came. The longer the silence stretched, the deeper the mystery became. The Internet's role became pivotal. The case was among the first true crime mysteries to explode online. Message boards, blogs, and later podcasts dissected every scrap of detail. Some insights helped, others only muddied the waters. Conspiracies thrived. By the mid-2010s, documentaries revisited the case. Each retelling reignited speculation. Families in the area remembered the winter she disappeared as a fracture point, when their quiet roads became stages for national intrigue. Still, breakthroughs remained elusive. Occasionally, bones found in nearby woods would be tested, raising hopes. Each time, DNA results crushed those hopes. The forest kept its silence. For the Murray family, years blurred. Birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, all haunted by absence. They became advocates for missing persons, pushing for reforms in search protocols. Maura's name lived on not just as a mystery, but as a cause. And yet, questions linger. Did Maura plan her disappearance? Was she fleeing troubles we still don't fully understand? Or was she the victim of someone who saw her vulnerability that night and struck? In Haverhill, the road where her car was found still carries an eerie weight. Locals point to it when passing by. Tourists stop to photograph it, some leaving flowers. The site has become a kind of shrine, an unanswered question frozen in time. 2 decades later, the mystery remains. Theories shift, suspects fade, but the truth has never surfaced. And in the silence of the mountains, the possibility that Maura's story will never be fully told grows heavier. The disappearance of Maura Murray has become more than a missing persons case. It is a cultural phenomenon, studied in classrooms, debated in forums, dissected in podcasts. It represents not just one woman's fate, but the haunting truth that sometimes people can vanish without a trace. And so it ends as it began, with snow falling quietly over the mountains, the road stretching into darkness, and the question that refuses to die. What happened to Maura Murray on that cold February night?